Welcome to the Careers in Finance and Technology podcast. Probably the most interesting name for a podcast ever. I think we brainstormed a few names. I personally thought that we can go with something like Technology Unplugged. But the problem is when you unplug technology, it stops working, right? So I think that's not a good auspicious start to this thing. Anyway, we haven't decided what to name it yet, right? So you'll probably see the name of it on the whatever web thing that we posted on. I think the main thing about this podcast is that, we're just three friends with diverse backgrounds, diverse life experiences. Vlad, obviously, is Chinese. Vin, he's from Bulgaria. No, I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, this is Yujun.
Yeah, so Vin looks Chinese, but he's actually from Vietnam. Vlad was originally from Bulgaria. I'm Singaporean, born and bred. And, we thought that we had reached a point in time in our careers and in our lives that, we can share some of our experiences and actually our failures so that, probably somebody, hopefully younger than us, can learn from these experiences.
Maybe our own children.
Yeah. And, and when our children, watch it, they'll be suitably embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if this episode turns out well, I will play it at my son's wedding in 20 years' time, and then he will just collapse, right, for embarrassment. Anyway, so yeah, let's move on to self-introductions. So let's start with Vlad, maybe.
All right. Well, I'm Vladimir, originally from a small country in Eastern Europe. And the wind took me really all over the world. I went to the US to study. I moved back to Europe. And in the end, I ended up in Asia. So I've really been everywhere. I worked in all sorts of companies, large and small, in various geographies, various industries, various functions, and various roles. So I thought I have quite a few interesting things I could share, which is how actually the idea about this podcast was found.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So maybe I'll share some examples later of things you guys shouldn't do. Yeah, at this point I am between jobs, you can call it, or semi-retired, whichever way you want to look at it. Between jobs, but not looking for one.
Okay, cool. Well, let's drill in a little bit on that, right? Before we go to Vin, because I've never got the full history of how you move across the world, right? So you started in Bulgaria, and then you went to the US on some sort of scholarship.
Yes, so I went to MIT to study math.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Boston, fantastic city. I followed the crowd to Wall Street. Everybody graduating in 2006 was going to work for a investment bank, and so did I. And later that took me across the pond to London for a few months. Great time without a boss around, and then continued the journey to Tokyo, where I spent one lovely year. Fantastic memories from Tokyo. And decided to do my MBA. Next stop was Singapore. I came to do my MBA here at INSEAD. And I stayed ever since, with a short gap of a year and a half when I went to Switzerland to enjoy some mountain views.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm happily back. Yeah, I'm Singaporean citizen now. Not a true blue, but naturalized.
Well, good enough, right? You have two sons. So
acceptably good, yeah.
We need sons to go to the army, right?
Proud father of two boys, yeah. I forgot to mention that.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll come back to some of that stuff later, right? The motivations for moving between countries. But now we have Vin do his self-introduction.
Sure. I thought I was supposed to say I'm Yujun, but no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm Vietnamese. You can judge from my accent. So I came to Singapore in 2006 and spent probably half of my life in Singapore, with a few exceptions. So I also spent a year in Sweden, also visited a few other countries. I think for a boy from Pulau Ubin, visiting CBD area in Singapore, I'm sure it's amazing for them.
Wait. So you're saying that Vietnam is Pulau Ubin? I don't know whether the Vietnamese will be insulted by that,
no,
or
I think it's
the Pulau Ubin guys will be insulted by that, right?
It is three levels. I'm not saying I'm from Pulau Ubin, or I'm saying the Vietnamese Pulau Ubin. I'm saying my origin or my hometown is Pulau Ubin of Pulau Ubin of Pulau Ubin. So three levels.
Oh
Vietnam,
man,
right?
why am I not friends with you?
Yes, I know you're a city boy, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Capital, in fact. So I'm very privileged to be friends with you guys. For a boy from Pulau Ubin visiting first up, visiting the CBD area in Singapore, it must be fantastic. But a lot of good things, like I would say, The airport is amazing. It's so beautiful. The road, the street are so clean. The people, they speak so fast, but very professional, I would say. The students look all smart. So I love Singapore since then. I think my love built up through time proportionally, to the point that when I got married, I brought my wife over and have my 3 kids in Singapore, this freaking expensive city, right? So this is how big my love for Singapore. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it a little bit, right? You said that you first came to Singapore. When was that again?
2006.
2006. And before that, the whole time you grew up.
Yes,
in
I
basically
was
a small village.
Yes, I was from a small village, like a remote area, and then I went to Hanoi to start my high school, right? And then from Hanoi, I came to Singapore to
So
study
the
my
contrast that you
university.
talked about being in, taking that cab ride from Changi Airport to Singapore,
Yes,
that contrast was between Singapore and Hanoi, I suppose
yes,
20 years back.
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was particularly stark
Right.
for you.
So, and that's why I say it's 3 levels: Pulau Ubin of Pulau Ubin of Pulau Ubin. Yes.
Well, different stages of development, right? What we've been here, I'm trying to save you from being cancelled,
No, I mean I didn't say I hate the Pulau Ubin, but yes, I'm proud citizens of, Vietnamese, and proud of where I am as well.
Okay, and after that, you came to Singapore, you studied here, and then you did, a year in Sweden.
Yeah, I studied computer engineering in Singapore, NUS, and I spent a year in Sweden.
Where you had a
doing
startup, right?
Internship, yeah. So I study and doing internship at the same time. Yeah, so for a startup
Oh, okay,
in
cool.
Stockholm.
Okay, and then you came back. And
Yeah.
then now, look at you all grown up, right? From a
Yes,
village boy to
Yes, my hair,
crypto founder.
my hair turned white already, half of it. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Tell us a little bit about your crypto exchange. Because I think, Bitcoin is up.
Yeah,
Free advertisement.
right.
For
I have to
DBOE.
I love show business, right? So you guys see that?
Yeah.
The cap?
That camera, I think.
Oh, okay.
You love show business, but not enough to figure out where the cameras are.
Yeah, I know. So that's why.
I should stop insulting my guests,
Yeah, so I studied computer engineering. I did my first startup when I just graduated. It failed, right? And then I decided to join finance. So actually my first company I worked for was RSR Capital together with Vlad. So I supported Vlad, his market making business, right?
Yeah,
so that's how I learned. Yes. So that's how I learned all about finance. And then after RSR Capital, I worked in investment bank. I actually follow his suite. Yeah, so I joined Goldman Sachs, and after Goldman Sachs, I worked for our Singapore exchange for about 6 years. And it took me that long to figure out that it's about time for me to do something for myself. So I built up my conviction of blockchain technologies for quite some time. So I want to do something about that. And DBOE is my venture into this area. So DBOE is about a crypto option exchange. It started off with that, but recently we expanded into spot as well. We do have some innovation in the technologies and also in the product risk management. So yeah, it's an exciting phase for me.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And you know what you said about programming and all that, I guess it's my turn. Singapore born and bred. I think I have a much more boring life than you guys. Because I was born in Singapore, and that to me is in a way winning the lottery, because that gives anyone born in Singapore starts off with a tremendous advantage in terms of just basic things like sanitation, safety, being able to go to school. And school is compulsory. If you don't go to school, government comes after your parents. I think it helps keep quite a few parents honest, actually. My career was also pretty boring, too dumb to be a programmer, but somehow made it in public infrastructure. So I make no comparisons between the intelligence of people in public infrastructure and programming. This is just my own personal experience, right? So I work for SGX, which is where I met Vlad and Vin, both of you. Became good friends since then. Obviously, we must have suffered, because suffering bonds people, right?
It sure does.
Yeah, we were having fun, you guys would have been forgotten. We have forgotten each other, right? Because it's just, drunken hangovers and stuff like that, right? But we truly, worked hard. And I think we did some pretty cool things. And now, I'm heading up a financial institution in Singapore, right? Part of a much larger US presence. And I must say it's been pretty fun, and it's been awesome knowing you guys.
Did you ever work in any foreign countries before?
With SGX, they sent me out to London for a while.
Okay.
I also spent a lot of time in Tokyo and Hong Kong, because basically the Singapore story, right? Most Singaporean local companies tend, if you want to scale beyond a certain size, you can't keep your eye just on the local market. And for SGX, a large part of its derivatives business, which I end up hitting in the end for equity derivatives at least, was international. Like I would think maybe 80% of the business comes from overseas. So yeah, fairly well traveled. So much so that I gotten sick of it and try not to travel so much these days. Right. Anyway, cool. Okay, cool. On to the first real question. I think we spent a lot of time, 10 minutes on introductions. Let's talk about.
Well, the funny thing is we all know each other already, so we spent that long.
Yeah, well, the audience doesn't know us, right?
The funny thing is, two of us work together. Two of us work together, and the two of you guys also work together. But three of us never work together. That's interesting fact. It just occurred to me.
Yeah. There's probably
we kind of played some musical chairs along the way.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that, you being a math major, isn't there some mathematical model that describes this strange relationship between three people? No?
Not at all. Yeah. Relationships and math. Yeah.
Really? I think you are about to be cancelled by some very angry mathematicians,
I hope not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they don't watch podcasts, so they're too busy doing math.
Well, you'll be surprised, right? I'm very sure somebody will find it and then somebody will hate you for it, right? That's how these things work. Okay, I think we mostly talked about your journey to Singapore, but maybe we change that a little bit. I mean, since you've spoken about how much you love living here, that you've given 3 sons to the country in a way. Well, almost, right?
Yes.
Maybe Vin, you tell us about, let me frame it a different way, which is, I think a lot of good things have been said about Singapore. But I don't think any country in the world, including Singapore, has achieved perfection, right? It's only, right system for the right time. So in your travels, having been to Vietnam, having grown up in Vietnam, having been to Sweden and, all those other countries, what will be the one thing that you think would be good to import into the Singaporean model?
Examples only. Yeah, but so for one, I think I borrowed it from you. You shared with me that people need to think out of the box, right? So I think in Singapore, I feel the box is so thick and so strong, so that it's harder for the Singaporean to think out of the box. But for the Vietnamese, since there's no box, or the box is not very established for us, so maybe it's easier for us to think out of the box.
I said that?
I think you shared with me once.
Because I've been quoted many times on things I never said.
Yeah. This session is not about you, but yes,
all the time I learned. Somebody's like Vladimir said so and so.
No, I learned from you, man. I learned from you. I learned a lot from you. You too, actually. So I mean, a typical example. You remember I went to embassy to pick up my passport. He said, "Don't forget to bring some sort of. Or do you need to book appointment or something? Or do you need to write a letter say, hey, this particular persons are allowed to pick up my passport on behalf of myself." So the Vietnamese, they are so innovative. They don't need a letter. It's just if you need someone to pick up for you, just pass a receipt for them. Right. Okay. So it's so efficient. I love it.
Okay.
So I wish Singapore have a little bit of that, but of course it's a balance between like productivity. It's between like
rule based, safety.
Yes.
What is the? I wonder. Do they publicly report figures of passport fraud in Vietnam? Somebody just turning up,
Very interesting.
And taking a passport.
No, but you need to keep the receipts. They tell you that you keep the receipt. If you need
receipts can be spoofed, right? Well, I suppose authorization letters can also be spoofed.
That's funny. The receipt is handwritten,
Right. Okay.
Yes. So it just
Nobody
passed.
can mimic that handwriting.
Right.
Look, you just need the signatures to like to act or to basically steal the identity, right? But it's a whole writing is a lot more difficult. Right. So the receipt is handwritten. It's a long sentence, right, with the numbers and etc. So I think it's stronger in terms of evidence than signatures.
Right.
Right. So they told you just pass the receipt to someone else if you want them to pick the passport. Right.
I don't know what to make of a crypto DeFi founder talking about going back full manual, not even typewritten, right? But okay, fine.
That's the reality, right? Yeah, I wish we can do a lot with crypto, but even in Singapore, the I would say the most modern society, lots of things are automated. You guys are doing a lot of things manual.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough, right? And then, I will go back to our original point about thinking out of the box and how the box here is very strong and very reinforced.
Yeah.
I think that's a natural consequence of being born with security and with safety and with, practically no poverty, although it does exist still, right? Yeah. But if you're born middle class in Singapore, you don't experience that struggle that I suppose growing up in a village in Vietnam or in Bulgaria, you will experience, right? And therefore people are not naturally so creative in the search and acquisition of resources.
Yeah, if the system is not broken, why change it, right?
I'm not saying it's a bad system, but it does lead to certain outcomes, right?
Yeah.
That you have an entire workforce, everybody's very professional, but perhaps lacking in creativity. And this is a criticism that we faced many a time, right? I say we because we're both Singaporeans now, right? We have a PR at the table as well. Yeah. What about you? What would you import from the many countries that you visited and worked in actually and lived in?
Well, you see, I have the benefit of having grown up in a shithole place, spent almost half of my life in Bulgaria. And the one good thing about it's that wherever else you go, you feel lucky, right? So once you get out of there...
Only you can say that, right? I'm not even going to agree,
Sure.
Yeah. I'm only nodding because I'm nodding at you,
every place
right?
amazes you with something. Like first time I went to South Korea, I was like, wow, so that's how a capitalist country looks like. It's clean and people are not aggressive, they're smiley and you can feel the wealth around you. Like first time I went to the US, see these big police cars flashing everywhere. I'm like, wow, everything here is so big and grand.
I think the police cars might be a symptom of something else, but okay,
Well, I was truly impressed. I was just the fact that there's no street dogs, there's nobody mugging you, there's nobody attacking you.
Were you really in the US?
Well,
not that I'm making a point about it. I'm just asking, right? Yeah.
I was in Bulgaria.
Okay.
So
it's all relative.
That's
right?
actually the one advantage that we naturalized Singaporeans have over you guys is that we can compare. We've seen a lot worse. When we come to Singapore, we can really appreciate the small things that you guys have taken for granted. Like law and order, for example.
Yeah.
I love it. Maybe I wouldn't love it if I had not seen anything else, but when I've seen corruption, petty crime, organized crime, I've been mugged, I've been attacked by street dogs, chased by drug dealers, chased by drug addicts with knives, and the thing is that in Bulgaria...
the thing about drug addicts with knives is that they run not so fast and also not so straight, right?
Well, different economies, different incentives.
Anyway, yeah. I'm sure there'll be a drug addict out there that watches this and hates on me and tries to cancel me on the internet.
Sure.
Anyway.
So the worst thing is that was a normal thing. That wasn't something that happened to me. It happened to everyone around you, right? So at some point you get desensitized. You start taking it as normal. That if somebody's out there, they're there to get you, right? They want something from you. They want to squeeze something out of you. And then you go to a normal place, normal society where people are friendly, where they're nice, and they don't mean harm to you. And you're like, what's wrong with you, right? At first. And then you realize that what was wrong was your thinking. And that you were really conditioned to take, the world as an enemy. The system is there to take advantage of you, and you only survive by circumnavigating the rules, right? So it's really a breath of fresh air to come into a place where law and order rules, where the system is not there to take advantage of you, but actually the system works for you, and that's why people keep voting for it. Having grown up in a shithole place gives me that appreciation.
I'm not sure if we're allowed to call places shithole anymore, man. Well, maybe you are. Right? In your opinion, right? Sure.
But
yeah. No, but I could tell, right? I mean, we've been friends a long time. I see you go back to Bulgaria, and you do love the country still.
I do.
It felt like
Interesting observation. Yeah. So you're asking me what I like about Singapore? Yeah, the law and order, the fact that there is no guns, there's no drugs, my kids are safe.
Yeah, we all know that, right? So tell us how we can potentially improve, right? What if there's one thing that
Don't
you
change
improve?
it. It works.
Right.
If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That might actually turn out to be a controversial opinion locally,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. If they don't like my opinion, they can go back to Bulgaria. Settle there. And they'll say a change.
That is true.
Yeah.
That actually is a very credible.
Plenty of drugs,
alternative.
guns are easily accessible,
So you need
Whatever
to apply
floats your
for
boat.
PR again?
Huh?
They need to apply for PR over there?
I don't think anybody's counting them. Actually, we have a lot of refugees there, but they don't want to stay. They interview a Syrian refugee who got arrested in Bulgaria. They try not to get arrested because once they get arrested, they cannot proceed to further Western Europe. They have to register in Bulgaria. So they interview the guy, is like, so why don't you stay in Bulgaria? He's like, you crazy? I'd rather be a dog in Germany than a human being in Bulgaria. And that's coming from a
Right.
from a refugee that we arrested, in transit from Syria to Western Europe. So I think that pretty much explains why there's not many people going to emigrate there. Yeah.
Okay, fine. But I'm gonna push you a little bit on this, right? Which is
Who's to be a dog in Vietnam, man?
Go on, make the joke.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not allowed to make. I know I make the joke sometimes, but I'm not allowed to make it on the air, right? So never mind. Let's move on from that.
Yeah.
I'll push you a little bit on this, which is when you go back to Bulgaria and you go back to your hometown and you see your old friends, and you said, everybody. There's basically one pub in town. Everybody hangs out at the pub. Everybody knows each other. And you compare that, I guess, simple happiness in a way with the pressures of living in Singapore. The costs are high. Kids go to school and they're pressured. Do you feel like there is some sort of balance in that needs to be recalibrated, if you will?
No, to be honest, when I go back, I see a time machine. Time is frozen. Nothing's changed in 20 years, at least for my generation. The new generation is doing a lot better. They're more educated. They're more open-minded. But my generation is really messed up, probably because of the times we all grew up in back then. And nothing's changed for them. Nothing's progressed. Nothing's advanced. And they lead simple lives for the only reason that that's all they know.
I mean, even with the internet and they can, see how other countries are living and stuff like that, there's not much censorship, right?
Internet doesn't tell you anything. Everything looks great on Facebook. But when your day is the same 20 years on, I mean, there's no change. You know that. Now, as long as you're lucky not to have experienced anything better, you're probably content with it. You're probably okay with it. But that doesn't mean it's really better. It just means you don't know any better. So I wouldn't exchange that lifestyle for the lifestyle we have here in Singapore.
You can't go back, basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But would you ever consider retiring, full retirement, to take a slower pace of life?
At some point, everybody has to take a slower pace in life, yeah. But
doing that in Singapore is expensive.
That's a separate issue to consider.
Okay. Oh, well. Yeah, I guess, for our listeners, if we have one takeaway from this, which is, I think, to be mostly grateful where we're born. Right?
We're quite privileged to be here.
Yeah, I think that we can agree. Okay, cool. I think that's probably all that needs to be said on that.